Hello, can I welcome members, officers and members of the public viewing and joining proceedings online to today's meeting. My name is Councillor Sharon. I'm the chair of the panel and I'm the Cabinet Member for Regeneration and Highways. My colleague Liz, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, good afternoon everybody. I'm Cllr Liz Parsons, Cabinet Member for Communities and Partnerships.
Thank you. And I now ask Committee Clerk Gillian McCoy to check that members of the committee present virtually can see and hear us.
Councillor Connor, can you confirm that you can see and hear us?
Yes, Jill, thank you.
Councillor Parsons, can you confirm that you can see and hear us?
I can indeed, Jill, thank you.
Can I also ask Vicky Roberts, who is monitoring the live stream on the council website, to confirm that this is operating correctly?
I can confirm that it's operating correctly.
Thank you, Vicky. I'd like to now remind members, officers and members of the public to leave your microphones on mute during the meeting until you want to comment. In addition, can officers please turn their webcams off unless you are addressing the committee. Once everybody has spoken, please ensure to mute your mic again so the audio remains clear. When I do bring you in, please unmute your mic and say your name and allow a brief pause while we ensure you are visible on screen. Is that okay with everybody? Thank you. So, item number 1, declaration of interest. Can I invite members and officers present to declare any interest relating to the main agenda items? None declared. Thank you. Item number 2, Alder Hey permissive parking area, proposed traffic regulation order, the City of Liverpool, North Part 1, stationary vehicle offences amendment, Knotty Ash and West Derby wards. Can I refer you to the pages 1 to 138 of your agenda containing details of representations received in relation to the proposals? Can I also advise that since the publication of the agenda, additional emails have been received in support of the proposals from members of the public and an email from Councillor Pam Thomas. Can I now invite the officers to address the committee on the proposals?
Hi, I'm Sonia Smith. I work for Amy. I'm Project Director and I'll give a brief overview of the scheme with the background and where we are to date. So parking problems are often reported in areas around hospitals with staff and visitors preferring to park for free on nearby streets rather than paying to park in car parks. Following construction of the new hospital in 2015, parking surveys were undertaken in the area around the hospital to determine which roads suffered from hospital-related parking. The results were subsequently reviewed and compared alongside an assessment of the parking capacity for each road. The survey data revealed that a parking permit scheme would be beneficial to residents by preventing long-stay parking by hospital staff and visitors within residential streets during peak times. A scheme was proposed covering those roads where parking was a problem, but also roads which would be expected to receive parking offset by the permit scheme, should it be implemented only in roads which already experience problems. Consultation took place on a scheme operating from 7 AM till 7 PM Monday to Friday, with permit parking areas, abbreviated to PPAs, on residential streets, and shared use limited waiting bays near businesses. Junction protection restrictions in the form of no wait at any time, double yellow lines, are also proposed. New dedicated disabled persons parking bays are proposed on Eaton Road, East Prescott Road, Thomas Lane and Brookside Avenue. These bays are to operate from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday to Friday and will be available for any driver displaying a valid disabled person's blue badge. Following the initial consultation, some streets where the majority of residents were not in favour of the proposals were removed from the scheme. The traffic regulation orders relating to the scheme were advertised in the Liverpool Echo on the 21st of June 2018 and the 28-day objection period finished on 19th of July 2018. During the objection period, 36 formal objections were received, along with 23 letters of support. One of the objections was accompanied by a petition with 152 signatories. The committee met in 2019 and approved 4 areas of the scheme, but due to concerns raised from businesses on Eaton Road and residents on Alder Road, the area around those streets was not approved, with further consultation requested here to develop a solution which suited both residents and businesses. To accommodate more customer parking, limited waiting parking bays have been proposed on Eaton Road, half on, half off the footway, along with 2 bays on Alder Road. The section of Alder Road between Eaton Road and Honeys Green Lane is to have a PPA introduced. Whilst on site, it was noted that parking on the south side of Honeys Green Lane forced traffic approaching Eaton Road to queue straddling the centre line of the road, and traffic travelling away from the roundabout was observed driving on the footway to bypass the queue. This is considered a dangerous practice. Motor Travel operate a bus route along Honeys Green Lane, so were contacted to comment and confirmed that parking on Honeys Green Lane causes problems and delays for the buses. To prevent this, a single yellow line operating from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. is now proposed on the south side of Honeys Green Lane, with no waiting anytime restrictions proposed where the road's narrow. Consultation on these revised proposals was sent out in July 2019. On Alder Road, 14 responses were returned. 11 were in favour, with 2 against and 1 was unclear. The 2 responses against the proposal and the unclear response were from residents at the Honeys Green Lane end of Alder Road, where a limited waiting parking bay was proposed, and all requested that the PPA be extended to include the section of Alder Road. This change is now proposed. On Eaton Road, 10 responses were returned, 5 in favour of the proposals, 3 against and 2 unclear. One of the responses against the proposals was from a business, and they request that the limited waiting bays have 4-hour limits rather than the proposed 3. As a result, the limited waiting parking bays closest to the businesses have been amended to offer a 4-hour maximum stay. Other objection points which were raised relating to Eaton Road were that it is a residential road, so all parking should be for residents, and that the proposed bays would inhibit traffic movement off a driveway, and that the hospital should be forced to provide parking for local businesses. On Honeys Green Lane, 12 responses were received, 8 were against the proposals, 3 were in favour, and 1 was unclear. The unclear response suggested that they would be in favour if residence parking is proposed on Honeys Green Lane, but this was not proposed. The 8 responses against the proposals suggested that the residents should be able to park outside their properties. In addition to those objections, we also received an email from Councillor Thomas, and she's raised 3 further concerns. The first one is that the disabled parking bays should be operational 24 hours a day rather than 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday to Friday. The times were originally set in line with the hours of the permit scheme, but we are happy to make this change as requested. Concerns were raised about the parking on Honeys Green Lane, blocking visibility at the top of the junction. Parking has been allowed here to reflect what goes on already. The footway is wide at this location, so parking has been formalised to maximise parking availability for businesses. The final point raised was that businesses are allowed up to 4 permits, but residents could still be inundated with business-related parking. Whilst there are 20 businesses here, so there could potentially be 80 permits, staff from these businesses will already be parking in the area, along with hospital staff and visitors. With the permit scheme implemented, the hospital-related parking will be removed, so residents should see a benefit of the scheme. So that gives just an overall very quick, brief summary of what is in the report and the history of the scheme.
Liz, do you have any questions?
No, I've got no questions at this point. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Can I advise committee that 2 requests have been received to address the committee on the proposals, and I will take the speakers in the following order. Councillor Nick Crofts, would you like to address the committee, please?
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I thought you were going to mention the other names that you were going to take in order. I didn't realise you were calling me in at that moment. I'm glad to have the opportunity to address the committee, or I should say another opportunity to address the committee. I won't go into the detailed history. It was advantageous to hear Sonia's report of the backstory. But I will remind committee what I said the last time that I had the opportunity to address you, which is that I am referred to in some quarters as the councillor for resident parking, because this is now the 4th scheme that we've delivered in the Knotty Ash ward in the 8 years that I've been the councillor. We are blessed, you might think of other words, but I choose the word blessed, with 3 large hospitals on 2 sites in our community in Knotty Ash, and they all bring with them parking problems. And this 4th scheme that we are implementing, hopefully with goodwill and a fair wind, we'll have the opportunity to do so after tonight's committee, is the 4th scheme that we'll have introduced in Knotty Ash without any cost at all to either the city or indeed to local residents. All of the costs for all of the schemes have been met by partners that we've drawn in to aid with the financial burden of implementing and running these schemes. It is 3.5 years now since we had the public commitment from the Alder Hey Trust Board to fund a residents parking scheme to manage the problematic parking around its site. They recognised that they have not been good neighbours for a number of years, and they've been prepared to make payments to find a solution that would deal with the situation caused by staff and visitors. It is perhaps not for this meeting, but it would be worth, I think, asking the question about why it's taken us 3.5 years to get to this point. And there are lots of reasons for frustration from residents, frustration from elected members, disappointment even that some of the decisions that have been taken by this committee in the past have not been implemented in the way that they were understood, I think, at the time. The most important thing for us to do at this point is get this scheme over the line. All of the different areas of the controlled parking zone around Alder Hey are awaiting the decision that relates just to this one key component. When we met back in 2019, there were lots of residents from the Alder Road area, both of West Derby and of Knotty Ash wards, who came asking for adjustments to the proposal that had been put before the committee at that point, with the unusual request of wanting to be included in the scheme rather than coming along to oppose the proposal. And so we undertook to find a way to do that. We undertook to find a way to meet the needs of the businesses that would be affected by the implementation of the scheme on Eton Road. It was everybody's ambition, I think, to ensure that we had a scheme that would work for residents, but that would not damage the trading opportunities of the very important businesses that exist on Eton Road. And I commend the officers for the work that they've done to bring us to this point. I think the further revisions on the scheme that affect Alder Road and affect Eton Road have been helpful and advantageous. And so I commend these further revisions to the committee for its acceptance. I'm grateful for the submission that my council colleague, Councillor Pam Thomas, made. I think there were some very helpful points there. And I'm grateful also to Sonia for her responses as to how she proposes to deal with those additional points made by Councillor Thomas. So I think the need is a pressing one. It's been a pressing need for some years. Residents have all sorts of problems, not just in the immediate vicinity of Alder Road and Eton Road. I mentioned some of them last time. Regularly, residents having their cars blocked in on their own driveways, residents being the subject of verbal abuse when they've asked, sometimes even Alder Hey staff, to politely to move their cars so they'd be able to get their vehicles out in the morning so they'd be able to go to work, including on occasions intimidation and even one threat of violence. We need to take steps now to deal with this problem. It has been far too long. We are where we are, and I would ask that the committee please accept these revised proposals with the further builds that have come in from Councillor Thomas and from Sonia. The need is urgent. Now is the time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Nick. Can I ask any officers would like to respond to any of the comments made by Councillor Crofts? Ian, would you just introduce yourself, please?
Thank you, Chair. My name is Ian Wiggins. I'm the team leader for traffic management and road safety at Liverpool City Council. I'd just like to thank the committee for considering these proposals, especially given the length of time that it has taken to get us to this point. I completely concur with Councillor Croft's concerns about the length of time that it has taken, and you're absolutely right. It is for something outside of this committee, and we absolutely will have a debrief on where those delays have come about and ensure that that doesn't happen again for the successful delivery of this scheme, subject to the committee's report, and more importantly, that it doesn't affect our ability to work with councillors and residents on any future schemes or traffic management measures in the wards affected by these proposals. That's as much as I would like to say at the moment, Chair. Look forward to hearing the other submission by the other residents. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ian. Can I now invite Tony Moffat to address the committee?
Hello, Chair and Councillors. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk. I think Councillor Croft has covered a lot of the points that I was going to raise regarding the parking around Alder Hey Hospital. Just for the record, I'm a resident of Alder Road. This has been something that's been going on for a long time. We have been persecuted with lots of cars parking from 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock at night in Alder Road and surrounding areas, as people have gone into the hospital to save on parking and then come back at 5 o'clock and then took the cars. I attended the meeting on the 31st of March 2019, where raised objections to the fact that we're going to have parking bays in Alder Road, half on, half off, and thankfully, subsequently, the Highways Department and Amy have gone away and looked at it again, and they've reinstated the residents parking predominantly in Alder Road as shown on attachment A, which goes back to roughly what we had prior to the meeting, what was proposed back in 2017. Yeah, that being the case, areas 1, 2 and 3 were previously approved by the chairman in the previous meeting in 2019. It was only area 4 that was still in abeyance. Hopefully now we can get area 4 and the other 3 areas across the line. My other concern is if we don't get this implemented in area 4, which is Alder Road and Honeys Green, as there are proposals to build some houses on brownfield sites for Alder Hey Hospital, and this has got very limited parking proposed because they are working on the assumption that there will be resident parking in Alder Road, Honeys Green and Agincourt, Simford, etc. That if it's not approved, the Area 4 scheme, that people will just land in Alder Road, Honeys Green, Simford, etc. So I'd like to propose that we do move forward with this.
Thank you for your comments, Tony, and also thank you for the time coming along to speak to at the committee this evening. Can I just, sorry Liz, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Chair. I don't have any questions now, but I would like to publicly state my thanks to Councillor Crofts and the other ward councillors and to Mr Moffat for your patience, because obviously I also was at the last meeting in March and I can understand your frustration, and as the committee member that was there then and is here now, I apologise that we're having this discussion again, and I do thank you, Ian, for your comments, and I would explicitly like to request to be involved in that debrief, please, because obviously there's been some confusion and misunderstanding, and I would hate for that to happen for residents again. So I did just want to take the opportunity to say that I do thank you for your patience and your tenacity and not giving up on behalf of your residents and your community.
Thank you, Liz. Roger, you've indicated to speak.
Yes, I just wanted to give you some legal advice. Sorry.
Sorry, can you just introduce yourself? So
I beg your pardon. So it's Roger Mann's committee to the solicitors to the committee. I just wanted to give you some legal advice, possibly in closed session. I think it might be appropriate. I don't know if we can just do that quickly on Teams. Is that possible?
Yeah. Jill, is that possible?
Let me just ask the lab from comms, can we just pause the live stream? Give me 2 minutes, please. If it's able to be paused, would you like it doing immediately? And then
I think it might be as well, yes please. Thanks.
Alright, we're just getting in touch with them now, so just bear with us please.
Thanks.
James, can you hear me?
Decision, or do you want to comment?
No, I'm happy with the decision so long as Pam's happy with the amendments.
I'm gonna include the amendments.
Sharon, we're back. The live stream's back on now.
Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. Apologies for the pause on the live stream and committee. Both Councillor Liz Parsons and I had to take some legal advice on delegated powers prior to making the decision. Just bear with us one moment. So I can confirm as the chair of the committee that the recommendations are approved and delegated power to be given to the Assistant Director of Highways to take on board any further objections to the scheme. I also conclude that the proposals from Councillor Pam Thomas be included and timescales are set for the implementation of the scheme and circulated to councillors. Sorry, just having a bit of test. Can I confirm that the meeting is now closed? Thank you everybody for your time.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, committee. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you.